Welcome into the Common Dad Podcast, Season 5. I am your host, Justin Matthew Gray, and I am, of course, joined by Andrew this fine evening. That is you. What is the largest structure you have ever attempted to build?
Ooh. Like from scratch? Like a structure?
Pretty much from scratch.
I mean, I've helped my dad with a number of projects over the years. It was not my responsibility to build this structure from like bottom up design and like all of that. But obviously being sheds, they were relatively large structures, and I've,
That's pretty big.
Done my fair share of those. I had to rebuild a column outside of my house, and that involved tearing down the old rotten destroyed column.
Right. Which is fun.
Building a frame, waterproofing the frame, and then stuccoing the frame to match. We live in like a townhouse, strip, so there's lots of buildings. So I then had to match the stucco to the surrounding properties and all of that. That was probably, 15 foot tall. Like 2 foot by 2 foot column that's 15 feet tall that attaches to the side of the porch.
That's pretty large, considering myself or you are any type of carpenter or anything like that.
That one was actually a lot more like, it was a wooden frame inside, but then is concrete board and waterproofing and stucco and all kinds of different stuff. I've built some stuff for like churches and things too, giant carts and things to transport stuff. And
I've seen those firsthand. The reason I ask, I'm midway through, probably not even that, 25% through building a large deck. I've never built a deck before. I've never built a small deck before. I've really never built anything in my life before. And I don't think a 16 by 25 foot floating deck was probably the place to start.
This is could a place at any.
I don't think
the best
so.
place to start is the project you have in front of you. So
I guess. So my question is, while I think it is important that me being a new
and at
homeowner,
least it's not in your house, so you're not like making a mess inside your house. It's all outside.
It's outside. It's hot.
It's not like you ripped up the floor or took out a wall or something in your house. It's all outside.
That's true.
It's nothing. It's a small project.
So I am a new homeowner, so we're like, all right, we got to figure things out. We got to YouTube stuff. We got to use our resources around us, which we're doing. However, a deck does require certain structural requirements or it will fail. And I don't know if I'm doing a good job. So my question is, at what point do you just not give up, but like, all right, I've got to call a professional, because if I don't, this may not hold 10 people. Don't you have to know your limitations at some point? Right? I don't know.
Yes and no. I think you know me, and I'm very much so a do-it-yourselfer, and
you are
do it yourself without knowing what you're doing, because you'll figure it out along the way. I think more people than not tend to give up before they should. I think they could rough their way through it.
It's me.
You gave me some of the initial numbers that you were quoted for that deck initially. You could, and the cost of materials,
$8,000.
The cost of materials for you to do it yourself. So if you do it wrong and you have to scrap everything and do it again, based on the numbers you had given me, you could probably do it 4 times and still come in cheaper.
That's true.
It sounds like somewhere along that path, the amount of what you're going to learn building that deck 4 times, if it takes that many times, is going to be far more valuable than paying somebody to come in and do it. And it may mean you have to do it 4 times. Don't get me wrong. I don't think you're going to have to do it 4 times.
No. That's
and
a
I
good
don't think
point.
it's going to be a complete scrap every time. I think you're going to get 75% of the way through the process and go, oh crap, I forgot this step. Crap. Now I
Yeah.
have to undo all of this and try again. And you're going to go all the way back and you're going to redo the thing you missed, and you're going to move forward again with most of the materials you already have. Maybe you have to replace a few things. You can't use these screws. Maybe you need to replace a couple boards that you cut too short or something along those lines. But you're going to learn a lot in the process.
Yeah.
I think if you are lost and you cannot find the information you need either via YouTube or the internet or resources, that's when you could start to reach out for help.
Right.
But before you go the professional route, I would say try different online resources. Reddit is a great resource where it's a community of people, and you could find pages on building a deck, and you could post pictures of your deck, and you could post what you're doing, and you could ask questions, and you will get a million responses of what you're doing wrong and how to fix it.
So you want me to go
Some of those
online?
people will be stupid and some of those people will not. But for the most part, the community will self-correct the people who are just
That's
arrogant.
true. Yeah, you'll be able to figure it out.
And you'll be able to figure out what's wrong.
Yeah.
You could also go to a place like a Lowe's or a Home Depot or an Ace or whatever the local hardware store is, and just ask them some questions and just be like, hey, I'm doing this project. I'm like,
you do have to swallow
here's where
your
I'm
pride.
stuck.
It
What do
is-
I do?
You do have to
And
kinda,
most
yeah.
of those guys, they're going to appreciate that you're trying to do this yourself instead of hiring a
Right.
professional, and they're going to give you some advice. I've gotten fantastic
true.
advice from the workers at Lowe's and Home Depot. That being said, I know way more than them, and they're all stupid.
Sure.
Um,
Sure you do.
If you've
Yeah.
tried the internet route and you've tried the Home Depot route, that's when you contact a company and you say, hey, I don't want you to come in and build the deck, but I want you to come over and tell me what I'm doing, and I'm willing to pay for your time to come over, give
That's a
me a
good
few
idea.
pointers, give
And-
me a few things, tell me what I'm doing, or maybe you come over and help me for a day, and
Right.
I'll pay you for your time, but I've already got the materials, I've already got everything. I just need your expertise to help coach me through this. And I think that's your last resort. I don't think you go to that right off the bat.
I think everything you said is right, and we got to the point where we were like, this isn't going to work. Like, we can't build this deck, and finally, like, push through today, like, solve the big like leveling issue and structural security issue, whatever you want to call it. We got that sorted out, so we moved on.
Oh,
but
you
was
made it
close.
level? No, you need it to be sloped so the
Well,
water
yeah,
rolls off.
That's
No, I'm
yes.
joking.
Well, you do want a slight slope, ever so slight, but you do want a slight slope. So we got that. But anyway, I think where I throw in the towel is trying to do things that could legitimately kill me. Like, I'm not messing around with electrical things. I'm just not doing it. I can Google and
110
YouTube
volt
things
is
all day.
nothing. 120, nothing.
Okay, it's small things, but like I almost killed myself trying to change a washer plug one time because I'm an idiot and
Those are a little
let
bit
my
more dangerous.
intrusive. Well, this is what I did, and we'll move on right after this. You know how some washer and dryer machines have either a 4-prong or a 3-prong.
Mm-hmm.
So I was moving I can't remember. I think it was a dryer, and it had a 4-prong, and on the dryer was a 3-prong. So in my dumb head, I'm thinking I need to change what's in the wall, not what's on my machine, because you can simply buy another cord, pop it on, and you're done. So I, without turning the power off in the home,
There's the problem.
Immediately I unscrew the cover of the giant, outlet connector, and then there was another metal piece behind that, and I unscrewed that. And if you've ever gone this far and almost killed yourself, there's just a circular, almost looks like a little, 3-inch wide saucer. It's just a plate, just teeming with electricity. And I had a screwdriver in my hand, and it's the definition of let the intrusive thoughts win. Without a second thought, I went, wonder if that's got power. And I just tapped it, and boy, did it have
Big
power.
spark.
I saw a white circle for 3 days. A pop, screwdriver went flying. I immediately called my dad. He turned the power off. You idiot. Turn it off to the whole house. don't do this in the dark. That will be more safe. And I told him what I did, and he was like, yeah, no, you changed. You've done everything wrong. So
you literally started in the wrong spot.
So after that experience, I was like, you know what? I think electricity wise, I think we're just gonna we'll eat that cost.
Hey, but you learned a lesson.
Sure did. Never do that.
And a valuable one at that.
Oh boy, almost paid for it. All right. So completely unrelated. Let's get into the topic at hand, and we are going to talk about a particular television show. We're gonna do a little recap. And there will be spoiler alerts. This series ended 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
This is a short while ago.
Long enough.
Season.
So we'll be talking about Ted Lasso. So if you haven't watched Ted Lasso to completion, I recommend you press pause now and don't listen to this podcast until you watch it. Better yet, press pause now. Well, don't press pause now because you won't hear my rest of the instructions. So don't do that. Go watch Ted Lasso, then you can come back and listen to this episode. Now you may press pause. Anyway, if you're still around, we'll be talking about Ted Lasso and why. Well, it's great by almost every review, right? I don't think I've heard a lot of people dislike it. I think it's universally loved. So we're going to tell you why.
It's pretty high up on all the charts, and considering it's a recent show and only 3 seasons long, to make it past some of the different shows in history of TV.
Yes.
It's pretty impressive, I think, to be on this, top TV chart.
Yeah. And it was not an HBO, or it was Apple TV. So if you want to watch it, it's on Apple TV. So 3 series. If you don't know about Ted Lasso, it's about a coach, a college football coach in the United States who takes a job to go be a Premier League soccer coach or football coach over in London. So that's what it's about. He doesn't know anything about soccer. That's the premise of it. So on to the spoiler alerts. So I think we both agree this is a great show. But why did you like it so much?
I think
love it.
Well, no, I do think it's one of the best shows on television. And it is a strong recommend. Of all things that you could be watching, if you have not watched it, this is probably worth your time more than any other show on TV that you might be watching instead of it.
Agreed.
I think for me, one of the initial reasons or the gut reaction as to why this is one of the best shows is it's very different than a lot of other TV in that this show is really just a good quality, redeeming quality TV show.
It's pretty wholesome, but with so many curse words. It's strange, right?
There's one character that has an excessive amount of cursing, and if you can get past that, the main character, it's one of those where kind of the good guy wins out and good qualities wins, and the nice guy wins. That's what I'm looking for here. The nice guy wins, and a lot of times in TV we tend to focus on these character types that are bad or qualities that are bad, or there's so much garbage in the world. And so to have a TV show that's based around a good-hearted, kind, nice, loving, pick your adjective character, and for you to see him succeed, it's kind of one of those love conquers all type stories.
Yes.
And I don't think you see that a lot. And I think that's one of the things that I kind of attached to with it is you have all these other shows that are about like serial killers and
oh my gosh,
predators and all these different things. And it's like, let's go polar opposite here. And that's this show.
So the show I was watching before Ted Lasso that everybody fell in love with was Yellowstone. And a great one too. Everybody loves Yellowstone. I definitely know I'm in the minority. I did not like it because it caught my interest at first. The first season was like, this is good. And then it got hard to watch because it was like gosh, every character is such a piece of garbage. Like, there's nobody that is really good. You know what I mean? Like, there's some of the
I would argue
characters
that
do
in that
good
show,
things.
the good characters are the good guys, but they still do bad things to be good guys. They do it in the interests of the greater picture.
Yeah.
But I've heard Yellowstone being described as the what is it, the mafia of the West.
That's what it felt like. So you had a team to root for.
It's very much that. So,
but if you stepped back and looked at the show Yellowstone, like in a vacuum, there's good guys and bad guys. But if you step back, you're like, you all suck. You're all terrible people. You're all burying bodies.
They're burying bodies and killing people and doing it's not so great things and whatnot, or in the name of goodness. And it is, maybe you could argue, in the big picture, it's for the betterment of the area, the region, whatever. They have the right mindset, but they're going about it the wrong way.
But I say that to say this, because it got exhausting in kind of the way Game of Thrones got a little exhausting. To where, and Game of Thrones was better about this because you would bounce from story to story. But in Yellowstone, it was just like evil, bad, and it was like, holy crap. And then also the story with Yellowstone got a little repetitive, in my opinion, with they're coming for our land. I'll get them, daddy. And like, okay, we get it. They're coming for the land. But Ted Lasso, like you said, was so refreshing because it was like, now there's a clear, definitive good guy, and he is doing everything for the right reasons with the right thing in heart. And he not only wins, like, because a lot of times throughout a TV show, you have to wait for almost the whole series to unravel before you see him get a victory or her get a victory.
Right.
But with Ted Lasso, it's like almost every episode you see him get little
small victories,
or the other characters. There's obviously there are other characters that are good as well. You see them get small victories, and it's just like every time I would watch an episode of Ted Lasso, for the most part, I would feel pretty good. It was pretty uplifting. If you've never watched it, it is similar. So it's the same producer that produced Scrubs. If you remember the show Scrubs, it's a very like quirky comedy. I wouldn't say as dramatic because it's not in hospital, but a similar comedy. So, but yeah, I think you said it stood out so much because so many other shows were just so doom and gloom, especially rolling off of Game of Thrones. Like Game of Thrones is a cultural phenomenon and an incredible show, but talk about bad guys winning on a consistent basis. Like, you really had to wait to the end for the good guy to win. And even when the good guy won, you were like, is that the way? Like, they kind of botched it. Like, maybe that's another podcast. We talk about how they screw that whole deal up. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. So if you're still listening, you know the Ted Lasso characters, you know everything we're talking about, and you probably agree with what we're talking about. So let's dive in a little deeper to some of the actual characters and some quick hitter questions here. And we'll just start right off the bat. It may be a little obvious. Who do you think the best character is?
I mean, that's kind of an easy one. If you think about each individual character, obviously the story is Ted Lasso.
Sure.
The catalyst in the show that makes it a redeeming quality show is Ted Lasso. His character, his demeanor, his attitude, his refusal to let things affect him or hurt him. People throw insults at him, and he's just like, "Oh, okay, that sounds nice. Well, if you'd like to go grab a drink later, it nothing affects him, nothing gets through to him. You can't get under his skin, and his presence, literally throughout the course of the show, lifts the the organization, the moral fortitude of everyone around him.
Yes.
Every single character becomes a better person by the end of the show as a direct result of Ted Lasso. So who's the best character in the show? It's Ted Lasso. I don't think you can really argue that one a whole lot.
So
you could argue you might like a character more.
you touched on something I forgot to mention before we were talking about just in general the show. Also, we talk about mental health a good bit on this show. This is one of the best shows I've ever seen kind of cover mental health. They do it really, really well.
He even struggles with it.
Quite a bit. It's done really well, especially from a father and a male standpoint of like things that fathers and males struggle with, like keeping things inside. They crush it. It's real good moments.
Who do you think is the best character?
So obviously Ted is the initial gut feeling. I think it has to be. It was close between him and Roy Kent. I think you're getting into the but you're getting into the character that you like, not the best character. You're right. And I think it is a show where it's appropriately named. It's Ted Lasso. The show moves through him completely. The show goes up and down with him completely. It's obvious. Yes, Ted Lasso is the best character. That's what's kind of nice about this show is it's not too like, there's not a lot of twists. You know, you can kind of see most things coming.
Right.
But it's still good. It's not like gimmicky. So yeah, the best character is Ted Lasso. So what about the worst character?
I think most people know who the worst character is. And I think he's going to potentially fit another one of your categories here.
Okay.
The worst character is Nate Shelley.
Yes. It's not Rupert, right?
And no, I don't think Rupert's the worst character because so one of our other categories here that we're going to touch on is the most hated character, and I think that these are two different things. I think the worst character and the most hated character are two different categories because I think the worst character is a character in the show that his story arc and his writing and his acting and his character,
everything about him
doesn't necessarily fit everything the right way. It's character wise within the story. I'm not saying you
right,
but that's the hated character attribute. That's an attribute of a hated character is that he upsets you. What I'm looking at is the worst character is somebody, you have the show and you're going to have the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows, and you're going to have the characters you like and the characters you dislike based on your emotions and whatnot.
Yeah.
What I'm saying the worst character is the character that doesn't fit that story the right way to help those ebbs and flows and to ease those things in and out. He's not the hero. He's not the antagonist. And I think his character is that because I really felt a lot of his story arc changes were too abrupt, too fast. He went from being this guy all the way over on the right to this guy all the way over on the left in an instant. And it was unnatural. It didn't feel correct.
Weird.
It didn't feel like something that would actually happen. If you've seen the show, if you haven't, you've probably paused and you've moved on.
Right.
So for everyone else, the way he goes from working, under Ted Lasso as like a ball boy to the head coach of a competitive Premier League team and a bigger team at that.
Yeah.
Number one, no one's going to hire him to be a head coach that fast.
Yeah.
They may hire him to be strategist, a consultant, a assistant coach, an offensive coordinator, something. Nobody's going to make him a head coach right off the bat like that. But his attitude shift as well. I'm not saying that it wouldn't happen over time, that somebody could become cocky and arrogant and a complete asshole throughout the course of his life. But the speed at which he went from being, the ball boy on the team to the head coach of another team and a complete arrogant prick, it was too fast. It was unnatural. And it was too accelerated. They should have drawn it out over a longer course of time, and they should have added more catalysts that pushed him to be more and more arrogant so that they could move him along that chain slowly and more naturally. So that's why I think he's the worst character, not because of the change, but because of how it changed.
So I agree with
that makes
you.
Sense.
I agree with you, but for a very different reason. And it's a very simple reason.
You hate him.
No. Yes, but in a different way. It's good. Look, I have always been a proponent of a movie or a show is only as good as its villain. got to have a good villain. You've got to have it. I hate him, but only because he annoyed me. So he pissed me off. He was just a fly in the ointment. You wanted his character to just go away. Like he wasn't bringing anything to the main storyline. But he's not a villain, but he's just so damn annoying. I just was like, I'm trying to enjoy this show. And I got Nate Shelley, the ball boy, over it. Like, you're not important. Get out of the way. Like,
Can we get back to the other part of the movie, of the show?
Yeah, it just bothered me. It just bothered me. All right, so yeah, that's agreed. Okay, and we'll just keep it negative, positive. What about the best moment? I was gonna go with best episode, but it's hard to remember what each episode encompasses. So just best moment, best scene.
I have two for this, and I think most people are going to pick one of these two, specifically one of these.
I think one's going to be in everybody's. Yeah,
one of them is going to be in pretty much everybody's. It's going to be top of the list. It's probably going to be the one you're saying, and so I'm not going to do that one.
Okay,
I'll let you give that one.
Okay,
because I bet you it's the same, and if it's not, I'll tell it at the end.
I think I probably have a different one, but it's okay. Keep going.
The best moment I felt like for me was just in the spirit of the wholesomeness of the show. I think the best moment was probably when Rebecca asked for his forgiveness and came clean.
That was a good
at the end of season 1. Talk about something that everyone on the planet should learn to do better. And I mean, we're all humans. We're all pieces of garbage in the end. Learning to own up to your own pride and your own, faults and your own, the things that you do that are wrong, and to face somebody and say, here's what I did. I'm sorry that it was wrong. I recognize that what I did was wrong, and it was towards you, and I feel bad, and I'm sorry. And even though this started out of something that was bad and wrong and horrible, and you have every right to hate me for the rest of my life, can we move forward? Because there's a friendship here. Like, that was such a big moment where she recognized in herself the crap, and then found a way to ask for his forgiveness. That's underrated. I don't think a lot of people think of that one, but that was a great scene. I had two, and the obvious one is the dart barroom scene. Yep. That is the ultimate good guy going toe to toe with the bad guy and winning and showing him up in front of everybody. Like, you get the goosebumps, and it was just a dart game. So it wasn't like it was that moment, it was a fantastic
that moment was better when they actually beat him on the field. Like, it was, it was so like, if you were running a trailer for the movie, that's the scene. If you were like trying to pitch this movie to somebody to watch it, you would show them that scene, and that would probably sell it. But I have that as my number 2.
Interesting.
My favorite moment, and I think this is more personal to me because of the type of weird fan of shows and TVs I am. I love a good tearjerker scene. Those are my favorite. So my favorite moment was after they got the crap kicked out of them. I think it was against Chelsea, and Jamie Tartt's dad comes in. And Jamie Tart he punches him, I think, and then Roy Kent comes over and gives him a hug. It was like
Roy Kent gives him a hug.
There wasn't a lot of twists in this show, but I did not.
And Beard kicks the dad out. Beard kicks the dad out of the stadium.
Beard kicked him out. He threw him out the doors. That was one that caught me off guard, and I was like, "Ooh, that was good." Because I think it was almost the end of the season. The episode after that was Beard's episode, where he just goes on this wild trip that I still don't really understand. I've watched it twice, and I don't understand the point of that episode at all. But that was my favorite scene.
The moment where, because the vast difference between Jamie and Roy in the beginning of season 1, and the amount that they hated each other, it shows to Roy the development that he's had over the course of it, but then also like the camaraderie of the team of like, yes, this is our brother, and he's hurting, and we're gonna help. We're behind him.
Yes, it was that was my favorite. But yeah, I mean the dart scene is great too. Okay, best character arc, which is what you kind of touched on this. I feel like this is an obvious one. He's here, he's there.
I have two.
Yeah.
No, see, I didn't actually have him as I didn't have him as the best character arc.
Okay.
There's gotta be
it's Beard.
Two of them
Beard
here.
has the best character.
Beard I think has
no
the
character
least
arc
character change
whatsoever.
in the entire thing.
He is a straight line.
So
none at all.
They're really kind of a tie for me. I would struggle to pick one over the other, and the two of them are Trent Krim and Jamie Tart.
Ooh, Trent Krim's a good one.
Obviously, at the very beginning, is completely skeptical towards Ted.
Yeah.
He's, kind of a douche when interviewing Ted.
Yeah.
Completely skeptical, trying to talk very down towards everybody. And by the end of the third season, having shadowed Ted for an entire season now,
he becomes a diamond
writing
dog.
a book on him, he becomes one of the diamond dogs by the end of it.
Yep.
And the story that he writes about Ted at the very end.
Yep.
Wow. That is a character coming full circle. Then the Jamie Tart, he's cocky, he's kind of a douche, he's all about himself.
Yep.
He's the best player on the team, and so he doesn't have to show up when the other players are there. He gets to leave before the other players. He's better than everybody. Everybody revolves around him. The very first episode, just golly, you hate him in the first episode because he's such a douche. And then by the very end,
he's more hateable than Nate Shelley for sure.
In that moment for sure.
Oh, you can't stand him.
Because he's being, even in that moment, he's a jerk to Nate Shelley.
He has a shirt on that says, or a hat on that says icon. Like, if that doesn't tell you enough about somebody.
So to go from that, and then by the end of season 3, he's no longer the best character of the team, and he recognizes it. He's now becoming almost the
two passes,
the Roy Kent of the team, where he's now the captain and the leader and kind of the guy people look to like for that guidance and that like big brother aspect and whatnot. He's the older guy on the team. He's not the best. And he has come full circle himself, massive character change. He's no longer self-entitled and a douche and all these things. He actually starts to become more of a genuine, heartfelt character. And I think, again, this all shows to the influence of Ted's presence in every one of their characters, making every one of them a better character over time.
So my thought when I first was trying to figure this out was Roy Kent, but I think you can make an argument the best character arc is Roy and Jamie. Like the
combination of their relationship,
the fact that how it started and then how it ended with those two riding bikes through Amsterdam sightseeing is quite incredible. And then they both get in a fight over Keeley at the end. They both realize they really are.
Yep.
They're pretty step by step. They're just different styles of character arc, but really similar. So I went Roy Kent. But Jamie's a great one too. I loved Roy Kent just because I just thought it was purely more entertaining. Because he was always pretty likable. And to see a hard ass,
he's an entertaining character.
Yes. He was pretty hard to love, but he had some moments that were pretty.
But even in the beginning, he had a few soft and lovable moments. It just wasn't towards certain characters. So it's like you could tell he was the rough on the outside, but kind of soft on the inside type of character. And I think he was somewhat of that throughout the course of the show. He was,
Got
how
slowly,
he expressed it changed. So anyways.
That's true. Okay. Most lovable. So not your favorite, not the best, but the most lovable character. A character that when they were on the screen, you were just like, I don't want anything bad to happen to them ever.
I mean, I have two, And
Okay.
the first, first is Ted Lasso, and I think like that it's kind of hard not like
It's pretty lovable. It's pretty lovable.
It's a lovable character. Again,
Yep.
every time he was, like you said, every time he's on the screen, you're wanting something good to come because he's just such a likable character and a lovable character, and he's so heartfelt and genuine behind everything he does that every time something happens that's bad to him, you're kind of like, gosh, like what they continually just have to beat him down.
Yeah.
And it's like you love everything because there's nothing to hate about him.
No, not a thing.
The other guy I had here was Leslie Higgins.
Leslie. Absolutely.
Leslie Higgins. He's just this he's just this loyal character that just follows everybody around, and he's got a family at home, and he throws a Christmas party in his house for all the players to come to. Anybody who doesn't have a place to be, like everything about him is a wholesome thing. He's just a side character.
Yes.
But he's really almost like a miniature Ted to a degree. Like he's one of the Diamond Dogs, and he's always trying to give positive advice and trying to influence people to do the right thing.
Yep.
It's just people choose to do the wrong thing around him despite his advice.
I had Leslie Higgins for sure. The other one I had who had a pretty deep storyline but was Sam. Sam was a really good dude, but he just had he had the thing with Rebecca and all that. But yeah, dude, Leslie was just the most lovable, because his story didn't get real deep. He was just so happy. He was just happy to be there. So you didn't want anything it showed his family and his kids. Yeah, it's Leslie. Absolutely. I adored him.
I just got an honorable mention, but it's the boyfriend of Rebecca at the very end. He gets her out of the water when she falls in the water.
Yeah,
the dude from Amsterdam.
Good. Yeah. He
was just a good guy.
Good.
Like
just
there were so many situations that he could have been a douche or a jerk or had ill intentions or taken advantage of situations.
Yeah, that was good.
I mean, literally given the circumstances, he could have been a really bad character. And he was just a great guy, and he's got a little daughter and whatnot, and they get to meet at the end. And he was a great character. He really was. I was kind of almost sad that he was only in 2 or 3 episodes. Like
I think 1 and a third. Like he was at the very end of the last one. But I will say about him, we don't know that he didn't kill his ex-wife and bury her in the river. We don't know that. He had
well worth it for Rebecca.
Yeah, but she won, so that's all that matters. Most hateable character.
Do you want me to go first on this?
I'll go. You've gone first on the other one, so because I've been playing off you a little bit. So I think it's a toss-up between Rupert and I don't remember his name, but the dude from Nigeria who came in and tried to start the Super League. He was awful. He wasn't in a lot of episodes, but he had absolutely no redeeming qualities whatsoever. But I think it's a Rupert conversation because
Rupert's the obvious hateable character because throughout the episode, everything he did was to drag other people down.
Cheating on
everything
people.
He did. Well, obviously his own actions, but even there was a moment where he finds that Nate has a girlfriend that is redeeming qualities and actually turning Nate into a better person. When Nate's at kind of one of his douchiest moments, he gets this girlfriend and she's making him a better person and he's happy. And what does he decide to do? Hey, come with me. We're going to get some hookers and I'm going to get you to cheat on this girl and I'm going to drag you through the mud. He's a pretty hateable character. I know what you're saying with the guy creating the Super League, but I don't think
he wasn't in it enough. I don't
think he's the number 2 or number 1 most hateable guy.
Who do you got?
The number 2 slot here, and I really think it's kind of a tie for number 1. And he's not in a lot of episodes. In fact, he might even be in less than the guy from Amsterdam. Jamie's dad.
Yeah,
Jamie's dad is got to be one of the most hateable characters in the entire show. He is an absolute piece of trash. And talk about somebody who has zero redeeming qualities. It's Jamie's dad. Jamie's dad is an absolute piece of garbage.
Yeah. I forgot about it. He did get like a little like touch of redemption where it showed him in rehab at the end, but I don't count that. He didn't even have speaking lines. Yeah. He sucked. Drunk, rooting against his son, talking crap to his son.
He's a piece of trash.
I mean, even Rupert had a moment with Rebecca where he kind of got back to his roots a little bit, you know, where they had the big meeting about joining in the Super League. At least he, like, you could see through all the crap that Rupert, like, there might be
he was a piece of shit with class. There. Jamie's dad was a piece of shit without any class.
Yeah, that's yeah. He did. That might be the correct answer completely. And again, I appreciated Rupert because he made such a good villain. So it was hard to hate him completely because he was so necessary and made such a great villain, and he was so smooth about it, you know, like everything was very subtle. All these little subtle jabs with Rebecca, it wasn't always on the nose. Yeah, Jamie's dad, I don't even remember his name. Screw that guy. Yeah, he sucked. He absolutely sucked. Okay, last one on here, and we'll wrap this up. Character you would want to be.
So this one, again,
you got to take the full series into account.
2 answers. Character, oh, well, I mean, like, character with the qualities that I would want to be, or just the character I would want to be.
You are them. You snap your fingers, and you are them.
Oh, well, that might change the answer. I don't know.
Everything into account.
I think the first and most obvious answer is probably the Ted Lasso, you know, phone in default response.
I would not want to be him. He had a hell of a time.
He had a hell of a time. He has mental health issues. He's going through a divorce. He's losing his son
suicide
through that. His dad's a piece of like, yes. Yeah. So that's where I go through. It's like, well, you
snap your fingers, you're this character.
You're this character.
You are this person.
So I didn't select my characters based on that. I selected them based on just the general vibe and moral compass and whatnot of the character. And my first, I think the phoned in response is Ted Lasso. He improves everybody around him. He's a genuine, heartfelt guy, and he refuses to let anybody get under his skin. It's literally a half glass full type of guy that you could throw an insult at him and it really doesn't affect him. And those are who wouldn't want to be those characteristics?
He's got some characteristics I would want,
but that's the phone in response. The other guy that I that I almost see a little bit of myself as is the Roy Kent, where it's just if you know me, you know that I have a little bit of the Roy Kent in me. It's just I can be rough. I'm not always the most likable character, but once you're kind of in the inner circle and you're like, you know,
you're a diamond dog.
There you go.
You're a diamond dog. So Roy was up. Yeah, it's the title of the episode should just be Oi. I think you're right, but I have different reasons. So I thought about also Beard.
Beard would be funny.
The dude's just, first of all, he's a Premier League coach, so he is rich. Most of these characters are filthy rich. The man's just he's doing what he wants for the most part. He's got real no attachments. He certainly has issues though, probably due to not having attachment.
As we learned by the very end, he's willing to stay in London and finally leave Ted's side. He follows Ted around everywhere, and then finally by the end, he's like, "Hey, I can't go with you. I need to stay. I have something real here now."
So I think it's Roy because you snap your fingers and you're Roy. You are now obviously with the persona. You're tough. You're rough. Here's the first thing about that. People are, for the most part, going to leave you alone. I want to be left alone. People, for the most part, are going to leave Roy Kent alone. Second of all, from the show, it sounds like he's probably like Premier League Hall of Famer situation.
He's pretty high up there. He's got entire fan bases with chants in his name.
Yeah, he's up there with it feels like of Messi.
He was a professional
Ronaldo
broadcaster for a season.
He's got all that. He's already a legend. He's obviously super rich. People are going to leave you alone. That's a real good start. So I think Roy Kent, there's a lot of characters you would want to be in this series, but the only other one I could think of would just be May. Just run a bar in the middle of London. I think that wouldn't be so bad, right?
It really wouldn't.
That could be pretty solid. And you're running a sports bar that's the home of that's where everybody goes for the matches. Like, yeah, I could do that. You could also say Rebecca and just be insanely filthy rich and have no idea, you couldn't spend your money in 3 lifetimes. That
have that kind of toxic personality for a season or two. And I don't know about billionaire.
Yeah, I don't
think she was a billionaire. Or was she by the end? What did she sell it for?
She
sold it in the very end.
What $1 billion?
Or did she sell it? I don't remember. She did sell it, no?
She sold it back to the fans.
Oh, but didn't she maintain like 50% or something like it? She maintained something in it.
I think she mentioned that the team appraised for $1 billion. So I think Rebecca is a close runner up there because money can't buy happiness.
It's a lot of money.
Money can't buy happiness, but there's not a lot of problems $1 billion can't fix. Just saying. You can get really good therapy for $1 billion. You could sort that out. All right, so last question.
Ooh,
bonus round, when we did our best fathers bracket, Ted Lasso did not exist. Uncle Philip Banks, won that. Is Ted Lasso a better father than Philip Banks?
No, he lives 2,000 miles away from Phil Banks.
What's that?
He lives like 2,000 miles away from his son. No, absolutely not. He's not a better father than Phil Banks.
Okay.
I still think Darth Vader is the better father, but
it's not. It's not. Never will.
A million galactic miles couldn't keep Darth Vader from his children.
Well, but he did leave his children just the way Ted did, and that's what
he didn't know he had kids
to disqualify. He had the Force. He had the Force. He knew.
They took her away and said they all died.
And he pretended like he didn't
They
know.
had to hide one of them with his uncle or whatever, and one of them they adopted into being a princess. They literally hid them. He didn't know, and the moment he found out, he sent droids out to the entire galaxy to find his kids so he could look for them.
One word: genocide. You can't be father of the year if genocide is on the resume. That was before he was
a father. He didn't have kids at that point. Doesn't count.
Okay. Murderer. Can we put that? All right. We're not doing this episode again. I think you're right. I think Phil Banks is
easy to get you to go. Darth Vader, baby.
Phil Banks is still the best one, but I think Ted Lasso would have made the top 4. I think he would have, despite being that far away. Despite.
I think so. He doesn't have enough interaction with his son. A phone call every other day doesn't really count.
It's not great. All right.
Great.
We'll leave it up. To the listeners. This has been a much longer than anticipated Ted Lasso review, but fun, certainly. Let us know what you think about the topics we hit. And if you've got any other ones that you would have mentioned, there's certainly other characters that people love. All right. Well, this has been a Ted Lasso review. We'll do another one eventually. We could do maybe a Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, something like that. We'll see. Let us know if you want to do one. This has been another episode of the Common Dad Podcast. Do not forget to go to all of the socials, like, follow, listen, subscribe, send random amounts of money, whatever you want to do. We will certainly accept that cash. Thank you so much for listening to the Common Dad Podcast, Season 5. We will see you next time.